Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us again for Teacher Tip Tuesday. We have some all-star teachers with us today, but before we kind of get started, I have a question regarding haircuts. Laura, Victoria, Dan, Danielle, do you have any tips on at-home haircuts?
Don't do it.
Yep, it's the new normal. Victoria, no, don't do it. Laura?
I actually gave my dad a haircut this past weekend, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I think it came out all right. So extreme times call for extreme measures.
I would agree. So, okay, so Laura Barzottini with us from the high school, Victoria Silling from the middle school. Thank you so much for joining us. Had a great conversation before we went record, covered a lot of ground, Edpuzzle, Jamboard, importance of connections, the eye-opening experience that we've had as teachers learning more about our students' lives and the community that we service. Lots of learning going on indeed. Really great discussion. So I'm going to turn it over to our tech integrationists and Victoria, Laura, talk about lessons learned. So Dan, jump right in. Go with the first question.
Yeah, so I had asked around, some teachers, administrators, stuff like which teachers they heard that were using technology for some powerful learning opportunities. And both of your names came up quite a bit. So Laura, could you just share how you're using Edpuzzle, and Tori, could you just share how you're using Jamboard?
Sure. So Edpuzzle has been one of my favorite educational resources so far with distance learning. So what it is, it's a collection of videos, so either YouTube or you can make your own videos that I've been able to pull from and embed questions right into the videos. So what I like about it is you don't have to post a video of your lesson for that day and then a separate Google form or question set that students have to go back to and do at the end of the video. It just incorporates everything all together. So it's a nice way for students to stay organized. It's only one link. They go to Edpuzzle and can watch a video. And then whenever I want, I can pause the video and add a question in. So I could have a minute of video and then the video is going to pause and students have to answer their multiple choice or open-ended question before the video will keep rolling. So it's a nice way just for me to make sure students are getting the key bits out of the video. I know it's a lot for them to watch videos every day for every class, so it's just a nice way to make sure this is the question I want them to answer. So if they get to the question and they realize, oh, I have no idea what the answer is, they can press rewatch and they can rewatch the segment that they might have missed the information. So it's been nice, and I've gotten some positive feedback from students saying they like having the questions and the video all together, and then the multiple choice will auto grade, so it gives them feedback automatically on the multiple choice questions if they're getting those right or wrong.
Laura, do you see yourself using Edpuzzle upon return to a more normal school environment, in-person learning?
I definitely would say yes, I'd love to keep using it. And I've had conversations with some of my coworkers in the math department that they also would continue using this even when we're back in person in the classroom. What is also nice about it is I like how it mimics my lessons in person, because a lot of my lessons I like to, when I'm giving notes or lecturing, I like to embed a lot of questions along the way just to keep it a little more engaging. So this is the site that's been the closest to doing that, where I can have an intro to something I'm teaching and put a question, just predict what do you think is going to happen, and then students all have to respond to that before they can go on. So I think it's nice because in the classroom only one or two kids would be doing that, whereas now every single student has to make that prediction before they can keep going on with the lesson. So that part's definitely been nice.
Same question for me. Okay. I like what Laura said actually about how like it almost helps that issue of equity, like in the classroom, how giving all students a chance to make predictions or share their ideas, even if they don't open their mouth. So I really like that. So I'm gonna have to look into Edpuzzle now. But for Jamboard, it's kind of like a digital collaborative whiteboard. So students can write on it and add sticky notes. So the way that I've been using it is in class, we usually do gallery walks. So students will like put their models out on their tables, or I mean, even they could like look at their partners. So like in the classroom, we can collaborate so much easier because it just requires you to kind of look at your partner or walk around the room or something like that. So I was kind of looking for a tool that allowed us to continue those routines. So Jamboard, being a digital whiteboard, allowed us to do a digital gallery walk. So I can actually import students' models or students' work, and then I can share it with the class for them to add feedback through sticky notes. So it's been really cool for that. Students have reflected that it felt more like science class, because I feel like the tools that we're looking for right now are those that help students kind of feel normal, even if we're not inside the classroom. So Jamboard's been a really cool collaborative tool to kind of bring in those routines that we would typically do in the classroom remotely.
And one of the things I love about what you both said is that like the tools you're using and the way you're using them can be really used by teachers in any subject area or any grade. So I think those are awesome. Thanks for sharing those.
Awesome. Wanted to ask you guys how you're making connections with students, and you've shared a little bit too about how your students are able to make connections with each other, which I think is something that's really important in distance learning.
So with Jamboard, it's been a great tool to have students make those connections with each other because they can see each other's work, even if they're not together, and they can give feedback to each other, get ideas, like we do idea steals, so they can still do that to kind of get inspiration from each other and share their work. So that's been pretty cool. Yeah, so connecting with each other. And then Laura, you had really good ideas as to how to connect with students.
So I know we've both talked about doing weekly check-ins. So Jamboard's a way for the academic side, and then weekly check-ins can really be about anything. So I've been posting a Friday check-in where students can just let me know how the week's been going, how they're feeling about distance learning, or reflecting on something positive, like when the weather's nice, what are they really excited about doing? So that's been one of my favorite parts of the week, just looking at their responses and seeing students' lives outside of the classroom right now, and if they're picking up any hobbies with a little extra free time or what their life is looking like right now. So that's been nice. And then also trying to put some non-math parts on my Google Classroom page, just to try to get kids to look at my Google Classroom and be a little more engaged with things like on Wellness Wednesdays, I'll post a picture of my dog, which has been a huge hit for whatever reason, but students have now actually sent me some of their pictures of their pets and their dogs, so they'll be featured, and it's a little interactive bit for students just to see each other, because they are missing each other, and trying to pull some of students' photography or things they're doing at home, just putting those pictures in my daily agenda. So that's been one way I've been trying to stay connected with them during distance learning.
I feel like finding those tiny ways to make connections is hard, but really important, because I feel like when you're in the classroom, it's so easy to show a picture or tell a story or, you know, do whatever, play a song. But when you're remote learning, I feel like sometimes even I can focus so much on just like making my lesson understandable or engaging that I kind of forget to include my personality. So I've been including like GIFs in my slideshows or funny things in my videos or things like that to just kind of show students our personalities and that we miss them. Like I found someone on Twitter who had sent home a digital postcard, which is really cool. So like I did that and added my Bitmoji. So yeah, I feel like those little connections are still super important with students.
Tori, you had a really powerful story when we were talking earlier about checking in and just kind of over communicating with students on expectations if they are having a hard time submitting an assignment. Do you want to talk a little bit about your kind of reflection that I think you referred to it as eye-opening experience of what some students have going on at home?
Yeah, so it just, when it comes to distance learning and everybody talks about that idea of equity, it's just super important to remember that like students have a lot going on outside of the classroom. I feel like that's hard to forget. Obviously, when you're in the classroom, it feels like an even playing field, but distance learning can really highlight those inequities and those difficulties. There's students taking care of their siblings. There's students whose parents are healthcare workers and they don't get to see them. So like, for example, I had a student email me last night at like 9 o'clock at night asking for her work for the next day early. She was like, Miss Schilling, can you send me my work for tomorrow early? My mom's in the healthcare field. I haven't been able to see her in like weeks. And tomorrow she has off. So we just want to spend the day together. And I emailed back and I was like, listen, like your mom's amazing. You don't have to do the work for tomorrow. Don't even worry about it. Like, thanks so much for reaching out, but like enjoy the day with your mom because that's way more important. So just like reminding yourselves that these students, they have other things going on in their lives, which I know we all know, but it was just like eye-opening for me that I was like, wow, like she hasn't been able to see her mom in weeks. Like, no, you don't have to do your science work tomorrow. So just making sure to check in with students, like that was a good reminder for me to kind of revamp and recheck in with students to say like, hey, if you've got things going on, like that could be way more important than your science work for the day. So just keep those lines of communication open with me. Let me know when things come up and we can totally like work together, whether that's getting work early, submitting work late, modifying assignments because you're taking care of your siblings all day tomorrow, like whatever it is. I feel like that's really important.
Cool. Well, Laura, Tori, thank you for joining us. I know Danielle, Dan and I all very much enjoyed the conversation we had earlier today and also doing this little live recording. So we always ask on this little video thing, if teachers have questions about Edpuzzle or Jamboard, are they okay reaching out and talking to you, asking a question, collaborating?
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Cool.
And if anyone wants to email me about Edpuzzle, I can send you a link and you'll get extra storage space on there. Or anyone who's using it will get that link.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And I think it's really, really cool how you learned Edpuzzle student teaching and kind of, got in the classroom, didn't think about it and now dusting it off the shelf and knowing, oh, wow, this is a great tool. It's something that you're thinking about using when we get back. So that's really cool. All right. So that's it. Another Teacher Tip Tuesday. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for joining everybody. And we'll see you all next week. Have a great rest of the week. I love, those cool pictures, the doggy pictures on Wednesday sound really cool. So I have to check that out. All right. See you, everybody. Thank you.